Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Lambom Show. Today is Friday, August 19th, 2022, and it is 6:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our program today is a teaser on financial literacy, and I am pleased, happy, glad that I could have my friend, my classmate, my brother, who has uh, taken the time, the energy, invested every part of his life to talk about financial literacy. And this is a special kind of financial literacy because it's a teaser towards next month when we'll be celebrating Life Insurance Awareness Month. In my little teaser that I put out for this show, I called it the Financial Literacy Month, and somebody quickly called me to say, hey, September is Financial Literacy Month in America. And I said, let me check in with Pius. And yes, I made that correction. It is towards, next month. April is Financial Literacy Month. September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So let's get that correction. But welcome, Pius.
Thank you, Lambert. Good evening. How are you?
Doing well, my brother. Good to see you again. It's been a while. The first time you came here, we are talking about some other thing with BK and a few friends in the UK. And
Absolutely.
yeah, since
Absolutely.
I've been back. But are you in
Yeah.
Houston? Are you back in Houston?
Yes, I'm in Houston.
Okay.
That's my base. It was a busy summer, but I think everything is settled now, and kids are back in school, and we are back to the home base. How about you?
Well, again, I'm alive. I am happy. Well, as my kids, their school begins in a week's time. I think they are going back to school on the 29th. So
Awesome. Awesome.
they are still trying to ask me to give them time, holiday time, to get to go to bed at 10 instead of. So,
No.
but we're glad that at least we had the time to, and I met you at least twice this summer. That's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's good.
We're at we're in Maryland two
Yeah,
times. Yeah, actually. We
that's
sh- we
great.
could have we could have met a third time, but you were no show.
Of course. Oh,
Wonderful.
okay.
So yeah, it's exciting. I was listening to your intro, and so April is Financial Literacy Awareness Month, and it's no accident that April was chosen by Congress, I believe, because it's also the deadline for tax time, and then of course, yeah, and so if you want to get maybe your P's and Q's, you can reference that. And then of course September in after the, the the attack of 9/11, uh, September became Life Insurance Awareness Month just because of the share lives that were lost that day in that month, and the devastation that many American families kind of had to deal with. So yeah, so that's why those 2 months became important in what we do. And so we're going to start today with just laying a roadmap for definitions, and hopefully tee up maybe what uh, I think would be an important series to help our community, your viewers, understand a little bit about this very controversial uh, product or solution or instrument that's out there. Yeah. So, but today I'll start by just making some definitions, if you don't mind, and have a conversation. I'm sure you have some questions of your own, and go from there.
Right. So again, just before we get into that, I mean, I love it when you said life insurance is controversial because within at least the African community, African immigrant community, we have had stories of people who have died and they have said they were killed by their spouses because they wanted to take insurance money. So seemingly, life insurance is a shortcut to some wealth. Maybe some of us have not met. I want to start off by saying, why did you reference that as being controversial? Why is life insurance controversial?
Well, maybe maybe controversial was the wrong choice of word. I should have said little understood, but that's because it stirs a lot of controversy with the sheer lack of understanding. And it's not just life insurance; it's our general approach and understanding towards insurance and insurance products. If you take your car insurance, for example, nobody ever reads the contract, and most people buy price. And by that I mean they look for the cheapest policy and the lowest deductible. And it's not until you get into an accident and then you start fighting with the insurance company, but everything was in the contract that you bought and paid for. And so there's always a controversy once people file claims, and this controversy has led to a misconception or total misunderstanding of the relationship that folks have with their insurance companies or the attitude that they have with their insurance products. So that's why I said controversial because, of course, on the life side of things, uh, not everybody likes to talk about their mortality, so it raises controversy from a cultural standpoint, and especially in our community because uh, most people feel like, hey, they don't need to bequeath anything to the next generation. They worked for everything they had, so you know, they don't want to leave money to anybody, and or they don't want to put themselves in a position where somebody's gonna try to take them out because they want an insurance policy. And it's funny because I don't think in my 12 years in the industry I have seen a case that uh, somebody landed a payout because they did it like that. They eliminated somebody so they could benefit from the policy. I've never seen one. So
That's pretty interesting. But again, let's roll on since I think we are going doing the cart before the horse. But let's see. We
yeah,
want to
well,
talk about financial
it's a good
literacy.
tee off. It's a good
Yes.
tee off.
So let's get into it. Fundamentals, financial literacy. What is it about financials that you want to get us literate? I think isn't it just regular for everybody to know how to spend their money, how to get money? What is the biggie about financial literacy?
So that's very interesting that you phrase it that way. So I'm gonna throw back the question at you. Let's take apart the word literacy. What would you say? How would you define the word literate? So if you just typed in a little Google search, I mean, for you, what would you say? How would you define literacy?
I mean, again, I think it's about knowledge, financial
Okay.
knowledge.
Yeah. So
Um,
not no literacy just in the sense of the word. So if you just type in a simple Google search on literacy, uh, it will say something to the effect like the ability to read and write, or the competence or knowledge in a specific area. Okay. So most times you know that there are a lot of people that think because they have an education, because they can read and write, they are educated, and that's never the case, right? So, or they are experts in certain things just because they could go read up on that. You could never be a physician if you just YouTube medicine. Are you with me? So, just like when computers started becoming a household device, an everyday thing, then we started hearing the word computer literate. And that simply tells you that it actually connects the definition, the two parts of the definition, being able to read and write with the competence or knowledge in a specific area. So unless you connect the two, you don't really complete the definition. And so there is that misconception uh, out there that being able to read and write necessarily means you are educated, and being educated equals to being financially literate. Nothing could be further from the truth. And you don't have to really uh, go far to look at to see that that's already a problem in society. So uh, I'm trying to share my screen and show you the viewers something here really quickly. Pardon me if I dance around. So this one right here. So so what you're seeing in front of you, Lambert, is the income gap in the United States in the
Hold
last
on.
30 years.
Hold on, Pius. I don't think we are seeing anything on the screen. Hold on, sure.
Okay.
Um,
You gave me sharing capabilities, did you not?
yes. So hold on, share screen.
Oh, okay, okay. That's from my end. Hang on.
Okay.
That's from my end. That's from my end. Uh, I don't want to share the audio. Okay. Entire screen. Okay. It's wanting me to do something. All right. Never mind. We'll fix it on the next
Oh,
turn around. But if you look at the wealth gap in America, I wanted to show a chart that shows the wealth gap, right? If you want to
oh,
see that there's a big there's a there's a really big misconception about being literate versus being financial literate, or what literacy is. You just look at the wealth gap in America. So 90% of Americans make the least amount of money. 90% of the population has the least amount of assets. Only 10% of the population controls the most assets. And in that 10%, 9% are made up of people who make $250,000 a year and up and have about $3 million in assets. I can tell you that uh, in my work, I see high net worth people who make upwards of $300,000 a year, and they absolutely have no assets. Okay, so and that is because these are people who are maybe uh, physicians, you know, some even in the financial industry, like accountants, lawyers, and stuff like that, real estate investors, and they are already in the mix, kind of, but you know, and they will tell you that they're educated, they're very knowledgeable on these things, they've even been talked to by experts before. But what is the missing link? The missing link is that uh, we have not acquired the knowledge or the competence in applying financial concepts to the level of becoming financially secure or financially independent. So the whole exercise of financial literacy is simply like bringing that uh, computer literacy to life, where we get people to learn how to speak the computer language to be able to use that device effectively in achieving in completing a task or in achieving a goal. And that's the long answer to your question.
no, but I think it's you. It is. I mean, you just blew my mind there with something. So there are people who are literate, in a certain sense, they have the knowledge, but there's a certain inability, they lack the competency to apply the lessons, this knowledge to real life. Because it's
Absolutely.
kind of serious to hear that 90%, and we can get into that. I mean, I'm sure that's the bracket where most of us fall, the 90% who don't have, you know,
Yeah.
and 90% of people in America live, okay, they don't have assets. And within the
They don't have,
10%,
they have the least assets, so
the
they
least
share the
assets,
least wealth in
okay.
the country. Yeah.
So,
So this the graph I was about to show you will blow your mind. We'll fix it so that next Monday
yes,
we can have it up and some other things. But it's incredible visually, and that problem is education. Okay, you you have to change the mindset, because I could never tell you that you're financially illiterate and you accept.
Right.
But the
That,
truth is that the 90% of us are financially illiterate.
wow. So, okay. By the way, before you get further, how do you define wealth? What is wealth? What is it you call wealth? Is it people? Because again, just listening to you, people will make a certain amount. How do you define that?
No, so I mean, wealth is wealth is anything, any assets that you have, any your that bring you value, or the total amount of your financial assets. So another way to understand it, to if somebody is wealthy, or the definition of wealth, take somebody's assets, the things that bring them money, and subtract the things that take money out of their pocket. What is left would be their their net worth, which is their wealth. So your wealth is the things of value that continue to add value that you have. And you cannot really be wealthy unless you have things of value that continue to add wealth to what you already have, that continue to grow. And you must factor in what leaves your pocket to go service maybe debt or things that you're still paying off, to be able to know truly what your wealth is. And they call that your net worth, which is what is left over after you've subtracted your debt from what you actually have in terms of assets. So and there could be varying definitions of it. That's the most common sense way to look at it. So it's not a your we've heard the parable that my wealth is my people. That's fine. Your network can certainly determine your net worth. So if you hang around, if your network is Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, uh, what's the other guy? So you are in a network of wealth. We could deduce, you know, to some degree that you are wealthy, but even those people still struggle with the definition of what is wealth to them, because it's almost like your follow-up question would be, so at what point do I say I'm wealthy enough to stop creating wealth? But short answer, the things that you have of value that continue to add value to you financially would be wealth. So the question is, what does 90% of the people have? We have liabilities, or we buy liabilities and hope that we are buying assets. So the nice things that we buy on loans are not going to build wealth, and most of the time they are not assets. So if I bought a Range Rover and $1 million home, you know, I could look like I'm wealthy, but all of those are liabilities to me. I don't have wealth, but I'm highly leveraged because I owe $1 million to the bank. I owe $100,000 to the car company, and I don't have any of that sitting there. So my $250,000 goes to service that debt. I may still have student loans. So those things which make us feel and look wealthy, and that's the mindset of the middle class. They buy liabilities and think that they're buying assets, and the wealthy people, the Warren Buffetts of the world, they pick up businesses, they pick up assets and stuff like that. And that is part of their wealth, because these businesses bring in revenue into what they already have and grow over time.
That is interesting. I
Yeah.
think this is the third time I'm saying that. But it's interesting to learn that most of us focus on things that make us feel rich or feel wealthy, but these are in fact liabilities because they are not adding anything to our pockets, isn't it? The home
Yeah,
that you buy, maybe equity growing on that, but still, that's a liability. It's bank owned. I remember, I think that was last week. I went out to a party and a friend came back and said, aha, um, are you the owner of the car or is the bank that owns the car? And I'm like, what do you mean? But
yeah,
again, it's an interesting distinction between the liabilities and the assets. And I like the way you
correct.
phrase it in terms of these things that the liabilities that we get, hoping that they'll become assets later on, and they eventually end up not becoming assets, versus those who own these liabilities but also own assets in terms of the businesses that's generating stuff. And I think for me, that's again one
Absolutely.
thing. But go ahead. I mean, I'm
Yeah. So
interrupting
so
you.
so when it comes to so how all this fits into financial literacy, right? If if we were literate enough, or if financial literacy was taught in schools, because I'm sure your next question is going to be, so how do we achieve, where do we go to get financial literacy, given that, you know, I'm revealing that most people you meet are financially illiterate. Where do you go then? Do you have to go back to school? But to get back to that, it's all part of the education, or it's part of the illiteracy. Because if we understood, it, it's not bad to borrow money to buy a house, but it's bad to borrow money and buy that house and think that all of a sudden you have an asset because that house is going to have equity. So as long as you own the house, you don't have the equity, because the equity is available to you once that, I mean, you could use it, you could leverage that equity at that point in time, but the house is not fully paid, it's still not yours until it's fully paid. So what are the things that we gather when we are in a critical point in time when we're supposed to be building wealth? A certain group of people who are financially literate gather assets, okay, and the vast majority gather liability. So and that is where education comes really critical. So when you graduate, get a good job, what is the first thing that most people try to do? Do they try to save and try to build on what they have? Because of lack of education, the first impulse is to acquire the things that they need for the quote unquote American dream, and that's acquiring more liability. So, what happens when you are young, energetic, and maybe even earning good money? You pile yourself up with all these debt that ends up draining. You end up paying a lot in interest rates at a time in your life where you need to be building. So it's, again, it may not just be education. It actually has to also be culture, right? Being able to not follow cultural trends and do what everybody's doing, and you find out that most times the majority just does what everybody does. But somebody that study up, that's literate in what they do, would always seem like they're going off the, off the curve, kind of. But it's because they know what most people don't know. So knowledge and applying the knowledge. Then, I know viewers may be saying, well, so are you saying I shouldn't buy a house or buy a car? How can I work and how can I live without those, right? There are good debts and there are bad debts. A home is a necessary purchase, and over time. So if you apply the same principle of, like, well, it makes sense for me to borrow and buy a $500,000 home Why? Because I'm going to stay in here and take the next 30 years to pay it off. And that makes sense because in 30 years, I will own the house free and clear and the equity is built up. But at, there is a disconnect, like right there. Try to get that same person to apply that same principle towards saving the mortgage amount to their home diligently for 30 years and just look at maybe a fair average market interest rate and look at what they get in the same time in terms of rate of return compared to what they will get in in terms of equity on the home. You don't be surprised that the savings based on an average rate of return in the market, the really median one, 7-8%, they may they may accumulate enough wealth to pay for two houses than what the equity would be in 30 years. And all that again is, yeah, they have a level of education. Everybody knows that I'll buy a house and hold it for 30 years and I'll get the equity in 30 years. But you're not applying that same thing. If I save for 30 years and earning this rate of return, I'll also get this amount of liquid cash saved away. So let me go look for savings and be diligent and disciplined with my savings for as long as I'm being diligent to pay a mortgage for somebody else. And that's the dichotomy with applying the knowledge. So even when we have the knowledge, we still are not able to apply it competently.
So I think that's a very important. Again, I really love how, in the dilemma of, should I buy a home that's a liability, or should I stay on this way and get I don't think that's the starting point. That's not the question, isn't it? There's more to it. But something that you said here in
Yeah.
relation to that, people they have these liabilities, they are highly leveraged, but they are still within the bracket of the 90% that do not have assets. So yes, you have $1 million home. Yes, you have that Range Rover, highly leveraged, but you don't have any assets beyond that. And I think, again, the second thing that you mentioned here is about the mindset. We need a mindset shift that we can start applying. So my question to you is, beyond just you said it's cultural, isn't it? The trends, the things that are trending. What are some of the issues that are really preventing people from moving from knowledge to applicability? What is it? Just that
Yeah,
people do.
I'm glad you asked that. It's because it was my next point. So it's about fixing what you don't know, right? Getting the missing piece. And the question is, so I said earlier, do you go to school to go become financially literate to get the connection and stuff like that? That is one of the things that I'm going to be sharing as the as we do the series into September. Opportunities for people to get the financial knowledge that they need. But the same way you become a journalist and have the competence in being a good journalist is the same way you should have, you know, the knowledge to give you the competence to become effective in finance. Now, we don't want to turn everybody or send them back to school to go become financial experts, but there are places where you can get the education in a structured way over a considerable period of time, and with some personal focus and discipline, in 3 months, you could actually have enough information to be your own money manager, to be able to understand the concepts, understand, uh, not in detail, not to become an expert, but know that, okay, um, I have to understand the role time plays in wealth creation, and that I have to understand the role multiple sources of income plays in wealth creation. I have to understand the the power of inflation in limiting my growth, or taxes in depleting my assets. Just because I make a lot of money doesn't mean that I'll have a lot of money. I may be not only leveraged, but I'm in a tax trap. So how do you manage that? So yes, we offer workshops and classes. I carry the badge with me everywhere I go, because what I do in the financial literacy campaign is an ongoing thing that we have embarked on for the next uh, 10 years, 2020 to 2030. The mission is to educate 30 million people. So bring them into workshops, give them the basic fundamentals that they can, and guide them with the application. So pretty much like an apprentice thing. In today's world, you don't have to go do a 4-year program. We could take 3 to 6 months and get any certification. You see that around all the time. But a guy that's changing careers, Lambert, could go could take the next 3 4 months, leave nursing, and go do what, cybersecurity, Amazon something, and in 3 months they'll be able to switch into an IT career from a healthcare career with the credentials. So in 90 days to 120 days, you could dramatically change somebody's life by empowering them with the financial knowledge to help them be an effective money manager for themselves. I'm not sure if that answered your question, right?
Absolutely. But the question I have for you is, financial literacy then focuses on making you become a better money manager.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then you have to, you need to have the money first to be able to manage it. So there's a presumption that you already know how to make the money.
Absolutely. So first of all, nothing is worth anything if there's nothing, right? So you have to have something to add for that thing to start accruing value. But it's more than that is the habits, Lambert. So the first thing that education does is it reconditions our habits, right? So remember back when we were in school, it was not only that we had to be in class from 8 to 1 o'clock, but everything after that had to be like clockwork. If you were not in the ref by 1, there was a good chance that you didn't eat. It probably had nothing to do with your education, but so if you were late, you probably became an early bird to ref. You were prompt at ref because you had to eat, right? So it is not just having the money, it's also changing the habits. And part of the education is changing the habits. If you have money but you don't have the habit to save, you may want to save or even know where to save, but you don't have a savings habit, you cannot save. So again, you have to be able to apply the knowledge and have that discipline. So if you have the knowledge but you don't have the discipline or the habits, nothing still will happen. But of course, we have to find the money first. So the assumption is that most people that are going to be viewing this work, have a business, earn income, and understand the importance of building wealth and the difference between just going day by day and actually having a goal that's time defined with an activity that is actionable within that time and an expected result at that end. So uh, if you don't have money, then you have to find money, and we solve that problem too because there's a great opportunity in the financial education business to create extra income for the right person.
So I think that's a great, again, you need to have a goal that's timed, and then you have an activity that's tied to it. and of course,
Absolutely.
expected results. I mean, just so you know, I'm taking notes. So I'm in class. So
Yeah.
again, you mentioned something. I mean, we take it for granted, but I think that was a cardinal mistake that I did. You have mentioned here a couple of times we. I hope you are not talking about the royal we. What are you? I mean, when you're talking
No.
about
So
we, what are?
so so obviously, I'm referring to the organization that I'm part of, which I know we didn't do a proper organized introduction in the beginning, but I've worked with World System Builders. They are part of World Financial Group and Transamerica, and they are the organization within those organizations that is actually championing uh, financial literacy as a way to bridge the gap between to bridge the gap for Middle America between financial illiteracy and financial independence. So we are the only organization, World System Builders, that is actually currently carrying out free uh, workshops, free financial literacy workshops every day of the week. So on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, we do workshops 3 times a day at 1 o'clock Central, at 5 o'clock Central, and at 7 p.m. Central on Zoom, thanks to Zoom and hybrid. So anybody can connect from anywhere in the US and Canada to be able to learn some concepts. I'm going to share more when we fix the screen sharing thing on Monday. I'm going to go over those workshops. So your viewers can actually see where they can go and start that journey towards uh, financial literacy and start their financial education. There are 6 workshops that we do, and they cover building wealth, building savings and wealth. What you need to understand when you want to build savings and wealth. It cannot happen by accident, and you simply cannot wing it. You have to understand uh, rate of return, time value of money. You have to understand the impact of taxes, the impact of inflation, and making sure that wherever you have money, you are thinking about all these things, how they impact your money, so that you know for a fact that in your time frame, you will actually achieve that goal. So if you save in the bank for as long as you want, for example, Lambert, you can never build wealth because the banks were never designed to create wealth for its users. So if you don't understand that piece of information, you will be missing out big time and totally spinning your wheels. So there are workshops that talk about how to get out of debt, for example, and how to just find an extra 100 or $200 from money that you already earn, and and you spend without keeping track, knowing where your money is going. Every one of us needs to be able to know where the dollars are going. How to budget, for example. How do you build a financial foundation for your family? Where does that start? What's the blueprint? How do you save and invest? Is investing for everybody? How do you assess your readiness for the different types of investments that are out there? Should you look for something more conservative? Should you be aggressive? How much time do you have? How much risk tolerance do you have? What are some of the things that you need to be thinking about long term? Should you just focus on working today and trying to build wealth? Should you just focus on making sure that your family is properly protected? Should you be thinking about retirement? And if you are, what are you using? So these workshops are they are incredible, and they capture the entire picture of your anyone's financial spectrum. It doesn't matter whether you are poor, you're middle class, you're upper middle class, or you're wealthy. There's something that you can benefit from that. So we'll share more of that with some visuals to help folks. But that is the we. in the we that I keep using, the World System Builder Organization and World Financial Group and Transamerica, we are the ones championing financial literacy in the market today. There's nobody else that's doing that free of charge. And we believe that everybody needs financial education. It's not an option, it's a priority because there is a direct correlation between the wealth gap and financial illiteracy, a straight line. And there's, you know, there's simply no excuses. I don't know if it's by design, but I do know that I I belong to a group of people that are trying to bridge that gap.
So I think that's, I mean, honestly, that's where we ought to have started from, isn't it? We ought to have started the conversation.
Yeah, well, so yeah, it's 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 teeing up stuff. So I like the fact that we touched on a lot of things. We're all over the place and stuff like that. And of course, too, it has to be conversational. I hope you can have some other people next time on the panel. Because we you want different perspectives. Now, we're going to share some things, but you don't want to make it a boring PowerPoint slide because usually, and that's part of the problem with most people. The biggest issue we find out there, Lambert, is that most people don't even have the interest to pursue the knowledge. So they're resigned to the system. That's why I said I don't know if it's by design, but it almost seems like it's by design because when I talk to people whom I know need the education, one of the things that I get is I don't have time, and it's kind of mind-boggling because you need to create time for something that important, and so not having time to learn something that could help you improve and get to your goals earlier is, you know, probably because, we are driven to focus on a different area as opposed to focusing on things that, we need to. So it's a priority. It's not an option, it's a priority. Everyone can become financially literate. Same way everyone can become competent and knowledgeable in anything that they dedicate the next 90 days to go do.
So my follow-up question to you is, I mean, you and I are of the same age bracket, even though your beard is grayer than mine. But
That's pedigree. The beard is pedigree, Lambert.
but my question to you is there an age group that you're targeting? Is it better to do financial literacy for my 12-year-old who is still getting to know this? Is it better for those who are just graduating from high school, getting into college, those who are about to start working? I mean, which is the best age group? The follow-up question is just simple that, again, for those of us who have missed or deliberately ignored this information and are getting into our 50s now, is it not already late?
It's a great question, and the short answer is that it's absolutely not late. Today's your best day. If you've been kicking in that down the road, today today is ground zero. It's the best day to start for you. So it's a great question. Who needs it? Everybody. So if we need to start the kids early. Okay, we need to start the kids early. So I have books that I'm going to share. I think this one. My kids have all read this. This is one of the materials that we use for the workshop, Saving Your Future. I hold it up correctly, yeah.
Yeah.
Basic principles of building a strong financial foundation, Finance 101.
Hold that up one more time, please. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so we'll have some slides with some copies on it for later. But definitely, we want to start the kids early and give them some perspective. For example, they need to know that you're saving for college, so they know that you have an expectation to go to college, and then they know that that is directly connected to every other thing that they may need and want. Okay, and for real, if we have that conversation, we'll raise that consciousness, and we'll get them ready. But the bigger thing is you start understanding where you are. Are you gonna need to supplement their college fund? Are you gonna pay everything out of pocket? Where are you along that journey? But starting them early gives them a head start to have that conversation, so that and you can take them along with you when you're going to these things, so they start early. I think it's invaluable to start them early, because most of us, you know that none of us ever had this kind of training, even by accident. So we are catching it at middle age. Is it late? Absolutely not. Your life expectancy is probably 90, Lambert. So you're still looking at 40 years. You can still do a lot of things in the next 20 years that will totally blow your financial future. So the best day is to start today. Just don't procrastinate for tomorrow. And that goes for everybody that's feeling like it's late. Now, you have to get the education. You have to figure out where you are and where you need to be by when. So for most people that are thinking that so anywhere from your 12, 13-year old, you could introduce them, you could get some plans for them, you could sit down and have these conversations with them. And the younger adults, early 20s, it's ideal because they have their lives ahead of them. They have some income. With that group, there's a lot of distraction, but the key there is uh, discipline and consistency, because they don't really have to save much. They just have to build the discipline, the consistent habit of saving. They have their lives ahead of them, and they could use time to build wealth slowly with little amounts. It adds up. So just imagine you have a bottle under the tap and it's dripping. If it's just dropping one drop at a time, and you go home, by the time you come back in the morning, it's going to be overflowing, because and that's what the advantage that youth has when it comes to saving. They don't need to shell much, but they have time to build a lot. Now, for you and I, it's a different story. We have to be uh, rise up to the realization that we have to do something now, and that this is the best time, and that we have to start now. We have to also understand that we have to do a lot more sacrifices. So again, I said you can't add value to something that is not there. So you can't add nothing on top of nothing. Most of us need to have multiple sources of income. That's the challenge. And it goes back to the I don't have time thing, because we only make money one dimensionally. Paycheck to paycheck doesn't mean that everything you make goes to pay bills for that month and you have to start back from scratch. It also means that the only way you make money is by trading time to somebody for money. So if you're not able to trade time, then you don't have an income. If that's the only way you make money, you're going to run out of juice in that battery one day. And what happens? So we all have to have multiple sources of income. If you can't find money to save, it's not because there are no ways to save, it's because you're not making enough money, which is why the opportunity to build an income stream in one like we have here is also very, very important. So I know I've not talked about that a lot, but we all should be asking ourselves, what other ways do we make money? And at heart, most people are entrepreneurs, but maybe they're just scared, uh, you know, or risk adverse a little bit, But we have to make more money. If you don't have money to save, you have to make more money. It's good to know where to save, even if you don't have money, so that when you make more, you know where to put it.
That's a great piece of advice there. But while we were talking, there's something that also came to my mind, because to be honest with you, I've had many people, many people. I'll say over the last 10 years, I've had at least 15 people talk to me about Transamerica, World Financial Group. But you are the only guy that has, like, we have not even talked about it, isn't it? We have not even gone into that piece.
No.
Yes, because
Not
now
not not yet.
yes, because for me, that's why when you start talking about the need for us to understand how money works, then we go to that piece. It makes more sense, because I think many more people just in and say, "Hey, more money and all that stuff, oh, insurance." And by the time you finish, I'm done. I may just be listening to you because, out of respect, we might have been sharing a drink. But I think that the premise on which you started off is a very important premise. Many of us are financial illiterate, and it looks like it's an abuse, but that's the reality. And we need to now
Well,
start asking ourselves some very tough questions. Okay, am I just highly leveraged, or do I really own wealth? And what is the difference? It's something that Pius has just laid out here. But I think foundational to any of these approaches to wanting to get somebody into an insurance program or all that is, hey, let's talk about how much you know about money. Then we can go to the other piece. Because,
absolutely.
yeah, I see many people making 1 million.
Absolutely. So,
So,
so, so, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
no.
I'm itching to
I'm,
say something.
no,
So
go ahead.
it's funny that you bring that up. So there's there's the opportunity. Companies come and go. And in the financial arena, there are a lot of heavyweights, and there are people who've been here for 100 years and more. So um, how do you know? And again, when somebody comes and is calling this name or that name, and really that's not the way you are made to understand that the industry deals with the market, where other people go into an institution to get help, and then somebody is chasing you down the street and calling all these names. It might kind of it might make you a little bit curious, or maybe a little bit skeptical. The truth actually is that it doesn't matter how big or how recognized a company is actually the value that its people deliver to the marketplace. It's the culture of that company that really matters. People will not care how good you are; they'll care how much you care about them. I think that anybody can segue themselves into somebody's living room and make a good speech or a good pitch. At the end of the day, it is what is the value that you bring. Are you just there to sell something, or are you there to add value to those people, or to who you meet? And I think that for me, it's that mission of delivering a change to the majority of people that I really uh, am connected to in the work that I do. There's a saying in the industry that there's money in the money business. That goes without saying. And you just have to come and work hard. So if you wanted to sell all day long, you could sell. If you wanted to talk about the company, there are people that are going to listen to where you come from, what company you're with, and stuff like that. I think that because of the turnoff that you alluded to, and the way people start the conversation, a lot of people in our community are only now waking up to how much time they lost in acquiring, maybe the wealth, the habits, the value that they should have. But it's never late. Okay. And hopefully with platforms like yours, we can start changing that narrative where people can actually sit and listen, and listen with an open mind and understand that, hey, what am I getting out of it? Is this something valuable? Is the knowledge valuable? Are the solutions valuable? And then they're going to look at the reputation of the company, and it's really not going to matter because by the time they get to that point, they know that you care. You know, by the way, if you went and sat down with a financial planner to just have this discussion that we had tonight, you're probably going to pay $600 an hour in this market. So talk about value. Uh, I think it's a great deal. But that said, I think the organizations that you alluded to, I'm very proud to be a part of. I call myself a proud world system builder. I think that we're doing something revolutionary, uh, bringing education and using education to bridge the gap between financial illiteracy and financial independence.
Again, I really want to say thank you, Pius, and that's why I am personally invested in making sure that the series throughout September is going to be focused on life insurance awareness, and that is
Absolutely.
these teasers are great because you start off by talking about the money piece, why we need to be financially literate, financially independent. Then you get to, hey, this is
Where do
one
you start?
way. Yes, this
Yeah.
is one
Yeah.
way
So
by
where do you
which.
start?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So just to add to that, Lambert, as we wrap up, and I know we're wrapping up, we're
correct.
coming up to an hour now. So the whole idea of the series in September, and this is for anybody that's listening and that wants to get some more information. So uh, we're going to dedicate September to talk about to teach about life insurance, the different types, its evolution, how to understand it, how to buy it, and why it is the foundation of your financial house. It's not a solicitation. It's not going to be a solicitation for anybody to buy it. Hopefully, you get the knowledge and come to more workshops and apply the knowledge however you please. But it is the foundation. And once you build that foundation, you're basically hedging your bet that if what else I go to work for, investments, job, career, business, if anything should happen along the way to impede or disturb my arrival to my destination, that foundation will hold that structure up. It will replace your income for the family. It will take care of critical illness, disability, or long-term care along the way. And you don't have to worry. You can go to bed at night and sleep. And it's this understanding that I alluded to in the beginning that it's controversial because once the understanding is there, and then people will actually understand how to get what they need, what they can afford, and they will treat it like the important piece of their financial house that it's supposed to be. And then, if you like, next April, we can do financial literacy awareness, where we're going to teach other things, investment strategies, retirement options, and how we can leverage them. Can
So
you
that's a
please,
question. That's a question for you, and you, of course, you know who that is.
can you please elaborate on your perception that some may have been forced to stay financially oppressed in society by design? How can you overcome stress challenges without a stable income? Hey, my dear friend Ake, I'm not a shrink, dude. So, so I'm not a therapist, and I'm not a politician. So I think, however, that uh, the the oppression is self-induced and it's psychological. I think that especially in North America, everyone has the opportunity to be able to free themselves from the proverbial mental slavery, right? So you have to understand that you could go off and do the things that you want to do on your own terms. So my dear friend Boston, that's how we call him. Uh, there is a there are some statistics, it varies, but over the last 6 years, about 7 million people just left the workforce, right? It's called there's a terminology floating around now called the Great Resignation, and
Mhm.
it's off of that gig economy that got created. Okay, you also have to understand that we're talking about inflation, a looming recession at a time in history with the lowest unemployment in the United States. In fact, companies are looking for people to come and work, and nobody wants to come to work. I don't think that is designed to keep people oppressed. I think that we have resigned to the system in such a way that what I alluded to by people not having time to come get information, even for free, that may help them get out of that mental uh, stress or the mental oppressive state that they are. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But I think that education helps. So with the workshops and what we're doing on these series, we could help create some opportunities for people to come in and learn, create some opportunities for people to come in and try other things, look detailing into the financial industry, the opportunities that are here for solutions that you can implement regardless of where you are, whether you are poor. If you are broke, uh, you need to really be doing more to get some money in, right? So you need to be working harder, or doing other things, and get into the gig economy, and you know turn your hobbies into cash or stuff like that. But it could be scaling down your spending now, trimming down your lifestyle. There's a lot of things that you could do, and everybody's situation is different. But through what we're going to be doing, hopefully, we're going to have some examples of how we can help reduce the stress. Definitely, life insurance will help reduce stress for family financially, psychologically. If you have a spouse and you died suddenly and you were young, it may take them 10 years before they recover. They may get sick because of the stress. What happens to your kids and stuff like that? So we have to change that thinking. And it's not only the stress we feel, it's the stress that people that depend on us will feel if we didn't do the right things. So, hey, Lambert, I think, thank you, Edward. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. And Pius, I want to say thank you for at least taking the time, dedicating the time to come to educate us, and for the partnership that you and I have. Let's get this to
Absolutely.
the community. And I've learned a lot this 1 hour. There's just a lot that I mean, I thought that this was more for the audience, but I also became part of the audience. And that's always a great thing. I think we are going to have this Monday.
Yes.
So again, 6 p.m. We are going to get some teasers again out, and then we'll get into September where we'll start breaking down the details. But any last word from you before we wrap up?
Well, no, just to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on your platform and share a little bit of what I know and I'm doing. And thank you for what you do to bring awareness to things that matter to the community. And I look forward to contributing the best I can in the next few weeks on the program and helping whatever way I can. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Boston says thank you. Great response. And look, the other one, looking forward to your course. So thank you
Okay.
all. And we want to keep it 1 hour straight to it. And thank you for spending your time. Tomorrow I'll be on at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard with Fun Chekia. And I have a special guest too tomorrow, former national, call it Indomitable Lion, Toko. He's out there in Dallas. So I'll have him
Okay.
on the show tomorrow. Um,
Awesome.
then after that, we'll get back to Monday. So see you all, same time, same station. Thank you. Enjoy the
Cheers,
week.
Lambert. Cheers,
Thank you.
Boston. Take care. Thanks, guys.
Bye.